Hi everyone, and welcome to this workshop entitled The Why and How of Community Representation on Grant Panels, being held by Cancer Council Western Australia. My name is Professor David Preen, and I have the privilege of being the chair of the Research Advisory Committee for Cancer Council WA. I'm also the chair in Public Health at the University of Western Australia. This workshop has two primary intentions. Firstly, to educate members of the pre-doctoral subcommittee in the requirements and training processes undertaken by Cancer Council WA community representatives in assessing grant applications. And secondly, to provide an overview for new community representatives of the requirements and training they will need to undertake, as well as the expected number of hours they will contribute annually to Cancer Council grant review processes. I'd like to start this workshop by acknowledging the traditional owners of the lands on which we're respectively meeting, and in the spirit of deepening relationships, Cancer Council would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians and owners of the lands throughout Western Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal peoples living and working in this area. And from my perspective personally, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm coming to you, while virtually, and coming to you from Wajak Mumbuja and paying respects to elders past, present and emerging. I hope you find the workshop both interesting and informative, and we'll now pass you on to the next speaker.
Hello, I'm Susan Hayes, and I've been a community representative on grant approval panels for Cancer Council WA for the last 8 years. Many people don't realise that non-scientists are involved in the evaluation process and the choice of which research projects to fund. Today, I'm going to explain to you why that's a good idea. Cancer Council WA are the largest charitable funder of research in Western Australia. By involving community representatives in the grant evaluation process, we ensure that the research that is funded is relevant to the WA community. As community representatives, we can provide a broader perspective on decisions that are taken and also provide insight to the researchers themselves of the lived experience of cancer and its treatments. It provides greater accountability to our donors as well to know that a broad range of people are involved in the decision-making process. And importantly, it improves how the results of research are communicated out to the wider community and to policymakers and government bodies. Now, I'm going to hand to my colleague Dan now, who will explain to you how we are prepared for this task.
Hi everyone, my name's Dan Biles, and for the last 8 years I've been a community representative with Cancer Council WA. I'm now going to give you an overview of the onboarding process for community representatives who are a part of Cancer Council's research advisory committees. Anyone in the community who has an interest or a lived experience with cancer is invited to submit an expression of interest to become a community representative. Once your application has been considered, there is a number of online and face-to-face activities where you will learn more about Cancer Council WA's research program, the important role consumers play, and how representatives can contribute to assessing the impact of cancer research on the community and how it can be translated to achieve community benefit. Once you are invited to become a community representative, there is an opportunity for those members to go through the assessment process, understand what's involved, apply the skills learned during the training prior to being assigned to one of Cancer Council's research advisory committees. It's important for all community representatives to maintain their skills, stay current with their ability to assess research from a community perspective, and this is why refresher training is done every 2 years. I'm now going to hand back to Sue, who will give you more information about what the assessment process involves.
Thank you, Dan. I'm going to take you through how the actual assessment process works now for community representatives. So the community representatives are sent a batch of grant applications, but only the community question component of it. And we grade those responses in accordance with the given criteria, just as they are published on the website. We don't have access to the scientific assessments. These scientific questions and their answers are graded by the scientific assessors who have the skills and expertise to do so. Once we've all submitted, both the scientists and the community representatives have submitted their scores, these are collated and they are weighted. The scientific score is weighted 70% and the community criteria 30%. The grant application panel, as a group, then decide who goes to interview, if that's required, if we need that to resolve the shortlist. Where they're required, a meeting is scheduled and the selected applicants invited to attend. The community representative involved with that panel is involved in those interviews as well. When they aren't required, a meeting is simply called to discuss shortlisted applications for a funding recommendation. 2 of the panel's community representatives are selected to participate in any of the meetings. So at that meeting, the final meeting, the sitting panel agree on which applicants are to be recommended to Cancer Council WA for funding, or if there are further requirements that are required before a recommendation goes forward. So this all sounds like quite a lot of work. So let me give you some idea of the time commitment. Depending on which committee you end up on, the expected number of applications that you would review in a year would be anywhere between 2 and 30. This will take you between 2 and 30 hours to actually review and assess them all, depending on the grant. You've got a period of 4 to 6 weeks in which to do this, and you do it at home and in your own time. In addition to that, there'll be 1 to 3 meetings a year, and those meetings can run for 2 to 4 hours. They're almost always at the Cancer Council WA, Subiaco or Shenton Park offices. So this adds up to an annual time commitment of between 6 and 45 hours, depending on how many applications you were involved in assessing. On top of that, there's just a short refresher training course that you're required to do every 2 years. So it's a contribution, but I find it very manageable within the time frame that you're allocated, and the process works extremely well. So the involvement of consumers in research is a global movement, and it's been required by most major research funding bodies for many decades now. According to the Cochrane Institute, who have researched this, it has been demonstrated to result in a better quality of research and stronger outcomes. I thank you for your attention during this presentation. I hope you found it worthwhile. Goodbye.